educational programs.
I think most of the NATO allies have been dealing with Mr. Milosevic for some time now and recognize that he always tries to simply pull back at the last moment, and only to have the capacity to engage in the type of atrocious behavior he has in recent weeks. I don't think any of the NATO allies are going to be satisfied that he simply stops the killing momentarily, but that will measure up to the requirements of the UN Security Council resolution that was passed last week. And so I would expect that he should and will be required to meet all of the demands. He cannot pick, as I indicated before, a la carte, and pick and choose which provisions he will comply with and leave the others open for negotiation. I think he has to pull back his forces. He has to pull back the army, the police forces. He has to allow the humanitarian organizations in to provide immediate relief. He has to allow for the resettlement of the displaced persons, and he has to agree to sit down at the bargaining table. When he meets all of those demands, then I think that the NATO countries will be satisfied. Formally addressed, there have been no plans that I'm aware of. We would expect there would be several hundred aircraft with all of the nations, all of the NATO countries participating, but that's still being resolved in terms of how many from each country, nearing any kind of finalization as far. There have been some indications in the past day or two that some of the forces have withdrawn, not all of them, but there seems to be some movement back. But it has not been complete, and again, that's not a question of Milosevic simply pulling some forces back and saying, there, I've complied with the Security Council demands. And we would indicate that that really hasn't been formally addressed. There have been no plans that I'm aware of that have been nearing any kind of finalization as far as any sort of a ceasefire monitoring group. And we would indicate that we're obviously would be involved in some planning of such an international force, but we have made no commitment to having any participation on the ground at all. That's a decision that has yet to be made.
Pull back below the pain threshold of action, or to finish his campaigning.